so many periods, you know, creating the character. What was the most fun and also, you know, the hardest part for you in creating her?
The most fun was probably the wardrobe and the hair and makeup and, you know, just from a purely superficial standpoint, it was awesome. But also, you know, the history in it and understanding why women dress the way they dress in certain decades. That was a really, really neat learning experience because it says so much about who they were and where they fit into culture and society and politically. And then, you know, it was challenging because as an actor, you always try to find someone to speak to that's experienced what your character's experiencing. So you can say, well, what was this really like? So you can tell it in the most honest way, but there's no one that's immortal. So so having to play a woman that doesn't exist yet be grounded and you know, and try to make it as honest as possible, that was challenging.
But there's some specific scenes. I mean, I don't know, the car sequence. You know, was there anything that was harder for you to shoot?
Which car sequence?
Like the accident.
We're in cars a lot. I'm driving crazy. I'm making
like
out
crazy.
in a car.
She drives like
I have an
she drives like crazy with
accident.
you.
I get pulled over.
Yeah.
Which was the car sequence?
I don't know. Like, was any sequence for you that was harder to shoot?
Yeah, I mean, for him too. We were sitting outside in Canada in the winter, and it's snowing, and laying on the floor at 4 in the morning, and having to be dead and sticky, and like they cover you in syrup, and so there's like bugs wanting to eat you.
It's tough, you know. I mean, God, the things we go through in making a story like this. Yeah.
You know, it's very champagne problems, but
It is.
You know, that was probably the harder of the scenes.
One of the cool things, though, that for us working together, and it rarely happens on a movie because the schedule is mostly determined by locations and stuff. We actually got to shoot our first scene, the first scene that we have in the movie together, was the first scene that we shot together.
That's
the one
true.
in the
Yeah,
elevator.
yeah, that's true.
The last story, I was talking to Lena about having the tricky because we not giving away the twist.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys approach that love story towards the end of the film?
How do we approach that, Blake?
Well, I think that, you know, you don't know. So so it was less about
No, I have no idea.
It was less about the way you approach it and more about how, you know, I approach it with the other person, without giving away the twist, and how he approaches it. But no one really knows what's going on except Adeline, and that would be very tricky. Talk about going home to meet the family and having things go wrong. That's like Meet the Fockers has nothing on Adeline.
And she can't take a break. I mean, she's always reinventing herself. Do you take breaks? You know, what do you like to do when you take breaks?
Oh yeah, I'm not really good at taking a break though. So when I finished my show, I thought, okay, I want to do nothing for a little while. I want to restart, and I want to feel like I can be good at what I do for a living again, and I want to have time to myself. And then I decided to start a business, and that's how I started Preserve. But it was important because it stimulated me creatively, and it consumed my time in a way that was completely different from acting. And so, you know, I sort of juggle that and balance that, and it's just it's less about now I'm gonna have a break and now I'm gonna work. It's always about like what movie strikes me so much that I can't not be in it.
And you mentioned fashion in the beginning. Was any period that was good for you, that you liked most in the film? And do you have any biggest fashion icon?
My mom's my fashion icon.
For me, for Ellis, in terms of fashion in the movie, I was kind of thinking it was going to be very straightforward, and I love that.
No, but I want to know, of the movie, of not contemporary time, what was your favorite Adeline fashion?
My favorite Adeline fashion is the dress when we first meet. The beautiful, long, red dress. Although that dress at the end is also really nice.
Yeah. No,
God.
but with non-contemporary, of the different decades. Did you see the movie?
I've seen it once, actually. Yes, it's been a couple of months ago. Of the different decades. I wouldn't know. What's your
60s
favorite?
probably.
60s?
I don't know. I'd pick the 40s.
What makes your mom your fashion icon?
She's the MacGyver of fashion. She always looks so distinctly her. She doesn't look like anyone else, and I love that. And then you find out the reason she looks like no one else is because the skirt that she's wearing is actually a dress, and she's rolled down the sleeves, and I mean, it's just like all safety pin and falling apart, and you know, the scarf isn't really a scarf. It's a sleeve of a shirt. I mean, it's very interesting, but you can't tell that. It sounds like she's a bag lady, but she doesn't look homeless. She actually looks really cool.